Now let's talk here about let's talk here about the Teals, because as I mentioned in the editorial, they're now starting to set what their happy hunting ground is going to be at the next election. Now, all of this, of course, works as some sort of psychological warfare where the Conservative side of politics starts to rip itself apart. How do we take them on? Do we go straight for them? Do we go around them? Do we try to mirror them? All the rest of it. And the attempt to do so in South East Queensland is about trying, as they have successfully, to be able to go after previously safe seats for the Liberal Party. And again, it's democracy. People can vote whichever way they want. But I want to ask you both this, right? Which is, Bronwyn, what would your advice be to taking on the Teals in a place where you are still defending a seat rather than trying to win one back? Because there might be different tactics that, say, would happen in your old seat of Mackellar as opposed to Ted O'Brien up on the sunny coast.
Well, basically, we have to show them for the disingenuous people they are. Now, let's take an example, and I will use Sophie Scoms in my old electorate. Where is her voice joining with the people to complain about windmills offshore, off our coastline, when we have a beautiful set of beaches in Mackellar? Is she going to stand up for Mackellar when they want to put windmills off our coastline? If it's not good enough to have it in our part of the world, she should be standing up for those people who are being subjugated to this sort of behaviour from the mad Bowen.
Then she'd have to work weekends.
Exactly. Yes. Well, of course, she didn't work weekends, did she? But aside from that, on Remembrance Day, she did not attend one of the services in the electorate.
Really?
She went to the Opera House to see Jamie Oliver. She is the one who voted with the Greens with that motion that virtually negated the proper motion that said Israel had the right to defend
100%.
herself. This is a woman, quite frankly, 3 strikes and you're out. So when it comes to looking at the seats that they're trying to infiltrate, Ms Scoms went up to Queensland to put her bib in there. What about looking after our people? What about looking after the people in Mackellar?
Well,
not happening much, I'm afraid.
Well, but also, again, and I don't know, and I'm sure all 4 people that put their hand up to try to represent and to replace Karen Andrews are great blokes, all the rest of it, right? But, Jenna, you would have to agree that if you've got an open seat and the Teals say they're coming for it, automatically pre-selecting a bloke is problematic because it feeds into the narratives that the Teals in part want to use. I mean, you've seen this, of course, with Kate Chaney in Chifley. We'll again see, not Chifley, sorry, in Curtin. And we'll see what happens with her at the next election. But what's your advice, is your advice that these people can be defended and defeated, or is the reality that that the hack is so good, wherever they deploy the hack will work?
Yeah, that's the really disappointing part, because I hate the fact that I think the really lazy argument is saying, 4 blokes are going for this really safe seat. I think the best candidate, regardless of sex, should get up if that's where you want to be. I know a lot of women that were tapped on the shoulder to potentially stand for Karen Andrews' seat in pre-selection, but they said, look, timing's not right. I've got my own business, I've got my very successful career, and I've got a family that I'm not ready to do it. I think the issue is it's not about the fact if you're just going to put up a woman because you're going against a bloke who's got great credentials and the woman has great credentials. What do the Teals stand for, especially in places like Perth, Melbourne and Sydney, those inner city seats that they are really targeting, and now South East Queensland? If they could come up with something that is an actual, a tangible policy, rather than talking about energy emissions when energy isn't even created in your electorate, because at the end of the day, people are going to start knocking on your door, probably, on the weekends, heaven forbid, if their power goes out for even 12 hours. If that is the worst case scenario, and it's especially going to happen in Queensland, given all of the hand-wringing over coal.
And look, part of the play here, again, and as we've talked about, the whole play of the Prime Minister is to try to sort of Trumpify Peter Dutton. Part of that, of course, has been the reaction to the stuff in and around Australia Day. But they've underestimated him multiple times, certainly when it came to The Voice. They got their head handed to them in places like Queensland. I think it's not exactly the same play, but I think that they shouldn't be assumed to have had no potency. But what do you think?
Well, I think they're starting to look like the empty vessel.
I think so too.
The truth of the matter...
But we're paying attention.
The thing is that we now, in Peter Dutton, have a leader who is standing for something and out there prepared to fight on the line. Yep. Now, let's go back to the Voice question. Yep. He took a very firm line. I told you all along that we were going to remember. But the bottom line is that in Mackellar, for instance, it was 50-50 because we went out and worked at it.
Good point.
And the same in Curtin.
Yeah.
And I think that you've got to take them on. And that means you've got to have a full-on campaign. They will have money. They'll have money that comes in from their Mr. Moneybags.
Well, they may not, though, because, of course, remember the electoral funding bills are all going through. We'll just watch this space. There's going to be a lot of interesting things around it.